I mean, when we look at unemployment rates in so many of the countries that we're from, I mean, I just came back from Kenya, and the finance bill, I don't know if y'all saw about what was going on in Kenya.
The protests.
Yeah. So there was a big finance bill. They were basically proposing to increase the taxes that people were paying, and it was impacting the people that were our age, of course, like the most, because unemployment is like so rampant and so high. Yeah. Like a lot of people are trying to figure out like $200, $300 a month, like they can legit like pay bills, eat, and like get stuff done, right? But if you have unemployment rates of like 50, 60% higher, now you're telling me it's going to be more expensive to like do everything as well, right? We're watching huge corporations come in there and use labor arbitrage, right? Tesla has a gigantic facility that's out there. Microsoft just shut down what they were doing in Nigeria to move over to Kenya as well. So these are some of the things where it's like, obviously, like, we have brain drain becomes a big issue because even with, like, in the cases of our parents, it's like, as soon as there's opportunity to get to America, it's like, hey,
take it.
We need to take it because this is how we can not only support ourselves, but this is how we can support, you know, our families back home. But I think the way that we're all thinking, it's like, how do we go and build the infrastructure so that people don't have to leave?
Yeah.
People have access to the opportunities and the jobs and the things that are there. Yeah.
And that's part of what my desire is and why we're doing this. And it was one of the things that we connected on when we first met at the gathering spot. The brain drain, man. That's a real thing. Yeah. Because the best and the brightest of, I'm going to say West Africa because we know Africa is big. So I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I know that the best of the brightest in a lot of West African countries don't live in those countries. The smartest, the best, the brightest, let me not say that, because they're probably very intelligent people that are there. They just haven't been educated to tap into their intelligence. So the most educated, let's just say that,
the most resources.
They're not living in the country because they left. And so part of what my desire is and what we're doing here is to, I think of it as a twofold thing: unifying our communities and then a call home. And I say our communities because I mentioned African and American. So I mean both being the African community, the ones who are like us who can trace it right back there, and the ones who were stolen, the ones who live here and have lived here and this is all they know, but they want to be in touch with their home. That's an opportunity for us to unify our communities and then say, hey, come home. Yeah. And let's rebuild our home together. And if we're going to do it, let's do it with the right mindset to lead well. And then let's make sure that we're tapping in to recognize that we need the economic stability and have business minds to do what it is that we have to do to build. And so that's part of the reason why, like, I always get excited. And I've texted Sita a bunch of times, like, just random stuff like, bro, this is about to change the world. Like, this is dope. But what we're doing here, because I genuinely believe that this is an opportunity. If both sides listen to this podcast and what we're doing, each side gets to learn about each other. Yeah. Each side hopefully will get inspired by what the other is doing and join forces and say, yo, let's go back to the crib.
Yeah, no, I think it's big. It just ties back to one of my favorite quotes, which is like, your quality of life is going to be based on your quality of relationships, and then your quality of relationships is going to be based on your quality of communication.
Facts.
If you learn how to communicate, you can literally have anything out of life, including building all the things that we're talking about. Because it just takes communicating and being able to convey that, hey, look, like, this is the dream. This is what, now we can share this. It becomes a vision. Now it becomes actionable. Like, this is what we need to do. These is who we need to have in place. So we have the leadership to get things done. Because like you said, like, all of the problems, the first person you got to lead, you know, is yourself, right?
Yeah.
So we have a lot of people that have become so center focused when I think it needs to be more people that are like other focused, right?
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, like, if you're struggling, it's hard to be that, right?
Yeah.
And some people, it's like the biggest prison you have is your mind. Because once you have people that have like opulence as far as like wealth, I mean, I'm not going to tell anyone how to spend their money, right? But if you've been elected into a position where it's your job to govern the people and help the people, but you're making decisions based on self, where does that leave the rest of the people that don't have the access to the resources, the knowledge, or like the ability to like make the economic jumps or even create paths of sustainability?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and that really, the whole conversation sparked everything. So the, I guess, precursor to this formal podcast is, and it was actually my brother that I think gave me the idea. Last trip that I was in Africa, started interviewing African entrepreneurs. Did 3 interviews while I was there. Was able to actually sit down, talk to people, talk about the business that they're doing, the challenges that they're facing. And there really wasn't a super long vision of what that was. It was like, I know people are doing stuff here. I know that there are other people that would love to be doing business. Because as we're talking about, you know, the resources of Africa is always exploited and drained, but human capital is the biggest resource that we lack. That brain drain is what keeps us down. Yep. So what we want to do is bridge that gap, as Llewellyn was talking about. Because if you got all of us that are unified and we understand, we're speaking the same language, speaking or operating from the same page, the same playbook, then we can overcome anything. Because we always look at, like, you know, what's the other side doing to us?
Yeah.
If we take care of ourselves, it doesn't matter what the other side is doing. This is a favorite quote. One of my favorite quotes is, "If there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm." So if we really have unity and we're not looking at each other as the enemy, then it doesn't really matter what else is against us. As long as we have each other, we're able to figure out anything. So this podcast is really just an opportunity to bridge that gap through media, through an engaging platform where we talk about people's experiences and be able to relate those experiences to where everybody can feel included in the conversation. And that's very important because the dialogue is not being constructive, because we don't control the media in most cases. We don't control the messages that we're getting about the other side, whether it's the African, the Caribbean, the U.S., the European black folk. We don't really see each other enough. So we have these preconceived notions that are really holding us back and preventing us from actually being able to work together constructively. So we're trying to steer that conversation the right way.